Howdy folks, Tex Grebner here with Tex Grebner Outdoors. Hope you guys are ready for your Tex Grebner Outdoors Saturday morning cartoon awesomeness, because it's time for week number 2 of Illinois Archery season 2019, so you better be ready to make it weird. Speaking of making it weird, if you want to support the channel in a way beyond simply watching the videos, you can go to TexGrebnerOutdoors.com, check out the Make It Weird sticker, Make It Weird shirt, the Life Ain't Like the Pornos, Hunting Ain't Like the TV Show shirt, because ain't that the truth, and of course, my personal favorite, the Kill with Sticks shirt. Speaking of killing with sticks, if you guys are looking for a discount on all your trad life supplies, you can go to threeriversarchery.com, check out their merchandise, and show your support for the channel, and get a shipping discount at the same time by using the code TexGrebner in your checkout at Three Rivers Archery. Now, you don't have to be in good shape in order to be a good hunter, but as a hunter, you will never regret being in good shape. So I strongly recommend that you check out the Train to Hunt Challenge, the Train to Hunt National Championship, and you can do that by visiting traintohunt.com. The question on your mind is, did I kill with sticks? Well, the answer is Wile E. Coyote is my spirit animal, but you'll also just have to wait and see. In spite of what outdoor marketing would have you believe in order to get you to spend your hard-earned money, there's literally nothing that's going to make animals magically appear. You can't make a wild animal do something other than what it already wants to do. Even if it's legal to put down bait where you're at, the deer might not be in the mood for that bait that day. The animal might not be moving around at all. The bait that you have might be out of the path of the animal far enough that it isn't worth moving onto your property for. The truth is, it doesn't matter if you've got a $2,000 compound bow or a $100 Shakespeare recurve you bought at a garage sale. It doesn't matter if you've got a plaid shirt or you've got some fancy, expensive camouflage. It doesn't matter if you're smoking a cigarette in the deer stand or if you've got a fancy scent control system. If nothing shows up, nothing shows up. Hunting is a visceral mystery. It is something that you feel deep inside of you, but also don't truly understand. The truth is, I believe that the capriciousness of hunting is why there has always been a deity ascribed to the act of hunting, because it is practically its own religion. We learn about these animals, we try to court their favor, we make sacrifices in money and time, sweat, and possibly blood. Hunting is its own religion. And as a traditional bow hunter, I suppose you could say that I'm a minister of darkness for the gospel of the savage. However, even if everything is perfect, perfect weather, perfect wind, perfect ambush, if nothing shows up, you're simply sitting in the woods with a weapon and attempting to enjoy nature. Well, I hate not to be hunting tonight, but I knew I wasn't going to have much luck at all to begin with. So I decided that I might as well at least do a little bit of scouting. And with as bad as the season is going, I figured I might as well utilize the vast public lands here in Illinois, because it can't get no worse. There are too many crops still in the fields. There's still too much cover. There's absolutely nothing that is going to make deer come onto the property that I have access to. So I figure I might as well at least get serious about trying to hunt the public land. So it begins. So I'm kind of between a rock and a hard place. We started harvest today, and I don't know if I'm going to have enough daylight to get down to the public land. I do know that my likelihood of seeing anything if I go to the pasture is basically crap, but I guess I can try and race the sunset. To hell with it, here I am, I'm gonna go hunting. As you can see by the lighting conditions, got probably 45 minutes of daylight at maximum. It's highly unlikely that I'm gonna see shit. I'm over here at the pasture because I know that I wouldn't even make it to the public land before dark. But I'm gonna get down the hill, get in the stand, and, pretend like I'm hunting. See, some people go out with the expectation of seeing something. I'm a firm believer that we're not actually afraid of the dark. We're afraid of what might be out there in that darkness. Now, in the early season, when the leaves are on, the squirrels are silent, and a deer could be ghosting toward your stand. And you would have no idea until it stepped out into the open. You peer through a green veil, and just like in the darkness before dawn, your mind creates a phantasmagoria of shifting images, and your imagination can run away with you, mostly because hope is the lie that keeps us going. I mentioned us being afraid of what might be in the darkness rather than being afraid of the dark. And the truth is, in the interest of making it weird, I'm actually not a fan of the H.P. Lovecraft Cthulhu mythos style of horror, because it's existential phobia and xenophobic, and I can't be afraid of something if I don't have a cultural taboo concept for it. I mean, let's face it, I live close enough to Chicago that a nuclear strike by North Korea, I would be dust on a lake of glass before I even saw the flash, okay? So, I've got no chance against the great old ones. I can't be scared of what I have no hope against, and I can't be scared of something that is just so damn out there that I have to suspend so much disbelief in order to actually be scared of it. Now, this isn't a judgment on people that love the H.P. Lovecraft style of horror, but I do find in my experience that people that suffer from large amounts of existential dread do gravitate toward the Lovecraftian style of existential horror. That's just an observation. And I swear to God, Lovecraft can't write a werewolf story without putting wings on it. Is it not enough that it is a spectral anthropomorphic hound of hell, but you gotta put wings on it, bro? You had me to the wings. Well, as it stands right now, I gotta finish chores, go home, get changed, get my hunting gear, go out to the pasture, get across the creek after I get down the hill, get set up, and I know I'm not gonna see shit. I know that I'm not gonna see shit. I also know that even if I could get drove down to the public land before it got dark, I'd never get set up before dark, and the deer would be moved out of that tiny public plot and out into the fields. So, you can say that that's a terrible attitude to have, but the truth is positivity doesn't change facts. The also truth is that I believe that it takes more mental toughness to force yourself to go out hunting when you know you're not going to see shit versus going out when you know that you're probably going to see something. I would love to see how many people are actually capable of hunting unsuccessfully as hard as I do. Because it's easy to go out hunting when you know that there's a chance that you might see something. It's hard to go out hunting when you know that the entire deck is stacked against you. If you're from a state in the Louisiana Purchase, it's highly likely that unless your family had enough money to be able to not farm every square foot of the properties that they owned, well, then you're probably hunting edge habitat. And I don't mean edge habitat in the traditional sense of the word. I mean edge habitat in by the time that you get to a spot on the property where you've got trees that are big enough to hang a stand on, you're literally on the edge of the property line, and you can probably shoot an arrow from where you're sitting to the fence row that divides the plots up. If you're not familiar with the situation east of the Rocky Mountains in the Louisiana Purchase and in the eastern side of the country, the truth is that property lines are the bane of our existence. Because by the time that you get into the edge habitat where you finally have trees that were inaccessible to where you could hang a stand on them, you've pushed all the deer that might have been in your property off of your property, and you're just hoping that something happens through. Now, I believe that corner hopping should be legal. I'm very pro public land. However, if you've got a piece of public land that you could literally walk into and die before search and rescue found you, then I have very little sympathy if the animals move from public land onto private land. I'm sorry, there's plenty there. You can find more that are on that plot to begin with. However, in my case, I regret that I wasn't able to utilize my public land tonight because it would take longer for me to be recognized by law enforcement as a missing person than for them to actually find me with search and rescue. It would take longer for anybody to notice that I was gone than for search and rescue to actually find me if I were lost in the public land. So I thought we were done, and apparently it's gonna rain, so we're coming back out to try and do this in the dark. It had rained all morning, and so that halted the harvest. So I had a chance to get down to the public land for a change, and I was using a ground setup, and it was so majestic with the pattering rain and the pattering of acorns dropping off the oak trees. Of course, it was also majestic in a savage way how I was getting mosquito bites on my eyeballs, because that's the only trouble with a warm October is the mosquitoes get big enough at the end of their growing season to where they could breed with sparrows. Now, the rules on hunting tree stands in public land in Illinois are a little bit gray, because you're not technically allowed to put in permanent stands, or you're not allowed at all to put in permanent stands. But what I'm unsure about is if you can put in a deer stand on public land and it's not permanent as long as you don't chain it to a tree. Of course, not chaining it to a tree on public land is basically asking for it to get stolen. So I was set up in a hawk seat on a tree and waiting for dusk. I didn't have high hopes, but hunting is a visceral mystery and you never really know. Now, of course, just about dark, a deer came up a trail, and unfortunately I was set up so that if it came along the trail that I knew about, that I'd be concealed. The problem was it came on my far right and locked on me at 30 yards, and I was made. I didn't even have time to get my hard camera angle on. I'm normally not a fan of hunting out of a climber stand, but I had this Summit hand climber that I got a screaming deal on a couple years back, and I figured, what the hell, might as well go back out to the public land. It was a rainy, cold, wet day. Of course, the rain stopped about the time that I got there, but it didn't stop it from being 40 degrees and humid. And this was about the first day 40 degrees that we'd had since spring got over with. And I went from having mosquito bites on my eyeballs one day to being underdressed and shivering so bad that my back muscles were cramping. But I should have known better. Of course, I toughed it out as far as I could, just hoping that a deer was going to show up. I was set up in the same oak grove that I'd set up the night before where the doe had locked on me at 30 yards. And I figured that using the climbing stand would at least give me a little bit of an edge, even if I don't like hunting out of them. Because not only do you have to worry about not dropping everything out of your stand and having to go all the way back down the tree with the climber to get it, I also don't like how on public land, a tree that's big enough to have a climber stand work on it is also going to be so tall that you're going to have to get 30, 40 foot up before you're actually not exposed. So anyhow, I figured lightning might strike twice, and hunting the public land is kind of a brand new adventure. After all, I don't think that until the crops are out, I'm going to have any chance of having something come into the property that I have access to, because there's just too much food in the fields and there's too much cover. So, it was about 5 o'clock on a Friday night when all my new friends arrived on the public land as they were getting off of work. The wind had been blowing pretty strong all day, so at least it was blowing across me from my left side to my right side the way that I was set up, and I'd set up pretty close to the trailhead. Of course, with the wind being strong and the trees being tall, by the time it got dark, I was about seasick, or as I call it, tree sick, from sitting in a tree that's been swaying for hours. We're doing a little bit of shopping today because I need to update my winter gloves because they're wore out. But the truth is that I've spent a lot of money over the years on technical hunting gloves, only to find out that, having owned Kuiu, Sitka, and First Light, that they're overpriced, they wear out too easy, and they're also not nearly as warm as what they should be for how much money you're spending on them. The best glove that you can buy is a $20 Wells Lamont or 3M Thinsulate insulated yellow leather glove. You've got enough dexterity to where you can still shoot a recurve split finger. They block the wind, and as long as it's not pouring rain where you get them soaked, you basically stay warm down to at least
10 degrees, or at least not losing feeling and not having your hands hurt. So I froze last night because I dressed too light. I may try hunting the public land again tonight, but it's a weekend, so it's probably going to be packed. And again, even though I'm super snarky about Western public lands, I am super glad to have them, but they just aren't very big over in the east of the Rockies section of the country.
Now, it was a nice Saturday in October, and I was a little surprised that there weren't any other hunters at the trailhead when I got there, because it was a Saturday afternoon, and I figured that it'd be jam-packed. Granted, that didn't mean that I was alone. I was just the only hunter there. There were dog walkers and families with kids and so on and so forth, because hashtag public landowner. Now, of course, I decided, what the hell, I'm still going to go hunting, even if it is windier than hell. And I walked down the ravine until I found a spot in the clay and mud where it was obvious that the deer were crossing. So I got climbed out of the gully, up the same path that the deer did, and I tell you what, it is kind of surreal and almost shamanistic how you can look at the lay of the land and you can pick out how an animal moves. High traffic areas, that is, where you can actually look at something and the trail just pops out at you if you know what you're looking for. So I set up on the oak flat alongside of where the deer come up out of the ravine or cross the ravine. And granted, I guess you could say that because I was wearing a plaid wool shirt that I didn't see anything because I stuck out like a sore thumb. That some of the leaves had fallen down and there was a high likelihood that nothing was going to see me without me seeing it. It doesn't matter if you're wearing Sitka or if you're wearing blaze orange. Optifade or blaze orange, it doesn't matter. If an animal's not taking that trail, an animal's going to do what it's going to do. And so it was an empty hunt, but I'm starting to become addicted to the public land style of hunting, if for no other reason than it is an adventure. Well, Wile E. Coyote is my spirit animal. Life ain't like the pornos, hunting ain't like the TV shows, and of course, no kill with sticks. But the gods of the hunt are a capricious bunch, and they're a bunch of dirty teases, because I haven't hunted that public land in years, because it really just didn't seem worth it to me. However, then I go out, what happens? I use some field craft, I figure out where the deer are going to be, and then boom, I run into a deer. And I get a deer on film, even if it is as bad as Sasquatch footage because of the lighting and the fact that I couldn't zoom the camera in because the doe locked on to me. But I did at least get a deer on film this week. But I've developed a bit of an obsession with hunting the public land for two reasons. Number one, because until the rut kicks in or the crops are all out, there's literally no reason for a deer to come into my family's cattle pasture that I get to hunt, because there's too much food everywhere and there's too much cover with all the crops up, and so I might as well go waste my time on the public land and see if something ends up blessing me. However, there's also number two reason why I'm obsessed with the conservation area for my county. And that is because I love the challenge. Okay, I'm a traditional bow hunter. I don't care what you say. If you're hunting with the struggle stick, you're not doing it for the meat. You're not filling your freezer with a recurve. Now, I'm sure that you eat and utilize the meat that you kill, but yeah, not buying it. I know how this works. So, due to the challenge of hunting the public land, I've developed a bit of an obsession with it. Also, like I say, I might as well waste my time down on the public land as waste my time in the cattle pasture. Anyhow, hunting is a visceral mystery. Life ain't like the pornos, hunting ain't like the TV shows, and Wile E. Coyote is my spirit animal. But here's hoping this year I can break the whitetail curse and kill with sticks. As always, God bless all my sportsmen of America. Join the NRA to protect our rights. Please got my friends over at threeriversarchery.com. Thank you very much, those of you involved in law enforcement and those of you serving in the military. And thanks for watching Tex Grebner Outdoors.